In the words of the immortal Ed Norton, you're on the air.
Hello out there in television land. How are you this fine evening?
Yes, that was also a William Frog.
Honestly, the gosh honest truth, Joe, this is the absolute truth. My wife told me yesterday we're in need of a can opener. That we don't have a. She has a couple of different
Okay.
type of can openers, but they're not they don't work or there's something wrong with them. So she says I need to get a new can opener, and I said, would you like a nice, happy housewife helper? Can it core an apple? Can you use it for spear fishing?
Or a handy dandy can opener.
Right. But the hare never had a chance.
That's right. Exactly. Well, welcome everybody to tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show. As we get a new work week underway, it is just a little bit after 7 o'clock Eastern Time. On the 19th of October, let me just take the opportunity to remind those of you who are on who are on tonight watching, who are also on my subscription platform on Patreon. We have our 9 o'clock Monday night Zoom meeting. So remember that. And after the show is done, I will be putting the link up to the Zoom link up on the Patreon platform, and the waiting room will be open, but we will be going on at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. And again, that is for Patreon members. Okay, so we have Tropical Storm Epsilon, and it occurred to me this evening as I was thinking about the name, was what it sounds like. For some reason, the old spot maker commercial for Calgonite popped up into my head. And
Oh,
they should have
boy,
named
now you're
this.
dating yourself.
Yes, they should have named this tropical storm Calgonite. That, folks, just took a brief internet hit. You didn't miss much. It just, it came and it went. So look. So here's what I was saying right before we took that quick hit. So anyhow, I went back and looked at the GFS runs from a week ago, and I'm going to show you. We'll bring them up on the air. It is amazing how wrong all the models were for the most part. But the GFS in particular this time around, because of how much it placed emphasis on something coming out of the Northwest Caribbean later this week, but also the fact that the development of Epsilon completely altered the entire pattern across the Atlantic, the entire pattern across North America, and it really changed what we were looking at last week with regards to what we were expecting to happen this week. Forget the tropical storm stuff, just the general weather from day to day. It's a completely different scenario. We were supposed to get cold fronts through here and shots of chilly air that was going to overwhelm the eastern part of the United States. Not happening, not now anyway.
No, no. In fact, it looks like temperatures will stay above normal. It looks like now, right on through into the start of the weekend. We'll have to wait for a cold front to move on through during the day on Saturday, and then lower our temperatures back to a more seasonable level for Sunday and early next week. But until then, Joe, I guess you can call this Indian summer. I mean, we up here we already had a touch of frost over the last few days, and this is going to be the first warm spell after the frost. So
Well,
I
half
guess
of
you can
Long
call it.
Island had a frost on Sunday morning, but the other half didn't. But just take a look at this. I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to bring up the upper air, and here we go. So take a look. This is the GFS from a week ago. This was actually 6 days ago. So this was last Tuesday, and I just want you to watch how this upper air changes. Now, for one thing, right off the bat, there is nothing with regards to any kind of system. Epsilon right now is somewhere in here. Okay, it's not even being reflected here on the model. You have an upper high that's out in the Atlantic. You have this trough, this rather deep trough that runs from central Canada down into the Gulf states. So I'm going to just kind of overlay the flow here, and this way we could see the difference. But this was a week ago, okay? And now take a look at where we are. This was the models a week ago for this time frame. And all right, so let me bring that back up. Oh, there you go. So now let's bring up today's GFS. And take a look at the totally different look that we have here on the upper air. The what I've drawn is what the model had was showing. What we've got is something completely different, and of course, we do have now epsilon. And again, the one of the things that it's done, Joe, is really pretty much brought weather systems to kind of a standstill here as far as flowing from west to east. Nothing is going to be moving very much. We've got this frontal boundary that's going to be stalling out to the west because the whole jet's been pulled up to the north, and that's thanks to this thing. Because now you've got this big upper high that's built up from the southeast coast of the United States out into the central Atlantic, in between the jet stream flow and the tropical storm. And that has really just changed everything because now we can't get these weather systems to progress to the coastline. We're going to have a stalled frontal boundary running down the St. Lawrence Valley all the way to the lower Mississippi Valley for much of this week. And we're going to be too far east to get any rain.
It's going to be so close. I mean, I'm thinking that there might be in parts of the Hudson Valley tomorrow, maybe a brief passing shower or even just a sprinkle because the front's proximity to us will be that close. But it never ever gets through our area, and in fact, it actually backs up a little bit and goes back to the north. And we're on the warm side, so we're going to be seeing temperatures above normal, as I noted at the onset of our show tonight, probably right on through the week and into the start of the weekend. We'll have to wait until probably Saturday for the cold front to move on through our area completely and allow for a return to a more normal temperature spread for Sunday and early next week. But until then, Joe, that front hangs just to our north, and we remain, for the most part, aside from maybe a spit or two here and there, and maybe some early morning fog and drizzle,
Right,
which will
and low
quickly burn
clouds
off.
that'll come in at night, which is typical this time of year when you're kind of in a stagnant air pattern like this. Yeah, it makes total
Yeah, but more or
sense.
less it's going to be dry. I mean, all right, we're talking maybe in terms of spotty drizzle or a sprinkle or whatever, a couple of hundredths of an inch between now and let's say Saturday midday. But that's it.
Yep.
That's all we're going to see at the very most.
But this is certainly such an instance where we talked about this last week to getting all wrapped up and using so much of your own personal energy for something that it was 10 days away and was making the rounds all and the chatter across social media with various people putting up various maps showing all sorts of odd things, and lo and behold, you wind up getting a tropical storm out of the system that you didn't expect to get one, and that has really just changed everything. As we march through the upper air, since I have the model up here, we're basically in a ridge position here in the eastern part of the United States with the tropical storm just kind of sandwiched right there in between. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Hang on a second. I made it smaller so that it could fit the page a bit better. This might work here. So there's this is now for the end of the week. I've kind of jumped to Friday, but I'll just roll back here in a moment. Here you go. So there's Epsilon is trailing along. It's also pretty interesting how it went from being a non-tropical to a tropical low pretty quickly. Uh, so certainly the conditions must have been really ripe for that to happen in the atmosphere. And of course, it's going to get dragged probably just east of Bermuda over the weekend, and then it gets kicked along. Once that kicks out, that's going to start to allow some of the traffic that's bottlenecked back to the west to begin moving eastward. Because you can see that once the tropical storm goes north of 40, and at this point it's probably a hurricane, and races out across the Atlantic, suddenly you start to move the troughs out from the west, start to swing to the east coast, and we get some action maybe, but we may have to wait. We may have to wait a while for the body of the trough to swing eastward before we get into some rain. at some point next week, and then after that, who knows? But of course, I just noticed here on the long range here, in the beginning of November, the model's got another wrap. It just popped. I just noticed it now. Something in the Eastern Caribbean develops and moves into the Central Caribbean. So more than likely, when we look at the surface map, it's probably going to have something of consequence down there. But uh, again, it's just fascinating to me that the tropical system that everybody thought was going to develop is not going to, and the one that no one gave any notion to is the one that got going. And here it is on the satellites. Actually, not half bad looking tonight.
No, and the fact is that the system that we were watching down in the Caribbean, the one that was supposed to shoot up along or parallel to the eastern seaboard, it started showing signs of slowing down in the vicinity of Florida, maybe even curving into the Gulf of Mexico. And gradually, with the passage of time, it wasn't even doing that. They just put less and less emphasis on that, and eventually more and more emphasis on the system on Epsilon near Bermuda. And how do you think Bermuda feels? They seem to have this the crosshairs seem to be on Bermuda, this one tiny little island out in the Atlantic Ocean, and this is what storm number 3 or storm number
Third,
4 that
I think it's the
has
third.
influenced their
I
area.
think it's three.
It's crazy. It's
Yeah,
absolutely crazy.
but this is they manage them all. Uh, even some of the category threes that have gone over there over the last 10 or so years, they come out of it in pretty good shape. They know how to handle it. Within a month, they're back to you look at the island a few weeks later, and it looks like everything was fixed. So they seem to handle it pretty well. All right, so let's go back home and let's take a look at let's go first to before we even do that. While we have it, I might as well bring up the Hurricane Center's latest on Tropical Storm Epsilon and where they think it's going. And makes a pass, goes eastern Bermuda by a fair distance, Joe. The 5 o'clock position here was 25.5 and 55.5, so a lot of fives there, a lot of nickels. Top winds are 45. Too bad they couldn't be 55. And they're holding a stationary position at the moment, but gradually motion gets back underway. They expect it to become a hurricane sometime during Wednesday and then pass east of Bermuda as a hurricane on probably early Friday sometime, and then out. Of course, it goes off to the northeast. And as I said, well, once it does that, that should release the traffic jam over the United States.
Great. And yesterday I was talking about how the GFS was moving that storm with each passing run, moving it more to the west. And I began to wonder whether or not this thing, not moving into the eastern United States, but I mean getting precariously close. But it looks like now that the GFS is pretty much saying, no, no, that's it. It's not going any further west than, let's say, 67 or 68 west, and then it'll curve away to the north and east, which is
And it
good.
may not even get that far west. If the ridge breaks down the way it's being indicated, it might wind up passing eastern Bermuda, and Bermuda's near 65. So anyway, it's not going to be a problem for us. The only thing is, as I said, it created a different world, a different weather world that we're looking at this week. So on we go. Let me get my mouse has suddenly decided to not behave itself. There it is. We've got snow, by the way, and winter weather advisories are up for a good portion of the state of Minnesota and in the northern third of Wisconsin, and even into western Michigan. Parts of Montana, a few winter storm watches have gone up too, and I've got the WPC's probability of 4 pretty, for October 19th, this ain't too shabby. You're looking at the blue. The dark blue is a 40% probability, so the first shade of lighter blue is a 50% chance of up to 4. And I think they're going for a few to 4 inches up in areas around Minneapolis and places up in through Minnesota and into the Dakotas. In fact, I will bring the snowfall forecast map. This is um, I can't say it's the first time of the season because we used it back back in the early part of September, if you remember, for that snowstorm in Colorado.
Right.
So it's taken my thunder away. Uh, Here we go. So here's the snowfall forecast, and this carries us through Thursday. So they're showing some 10-inch amounts in parts of South Dakota, parts of North Dakota, and Minneapolis has got a 4 print there, mostly 4 to 8 across much of Minnesota, and 5 to maybe 10 in a band across North Dakota into eastern Montana. Not too shabby for the first snow of the year.
Now, the watches and warnings map you had on the screen about 90 seconds ago, I
Right.
noticed there were weather advisories for Minnesota. I noticed that there was advisories for Montana, but
But not in
confused
between.
by its accents was North Dakota. What's going on over
I
there?
don't know. Let me update this. Let me freshen this up. Why is this mouse not behaving itself? Uh, well, maybe they just haven't gotten around to it.
Hey, Charlie, we got 10 inches of snow. Did you put up that advisory yet? What advisory?
Yeah, exactly. They're still devastated over the fact that there are no Cracker Barrels in Vermont. Yeah, I'm imagining that the advisories will be going up, and you can see on the Canadian satellite loop that again that trough is still stuck to the west. It's just not making any progress because of what is going on in the Atlantic with that upper ridge that is out offshore. I'm trying to reload the loop here, and things are acting very slow. Oh, there we go. So again, as if Joe, you look at this flow. I mean, it's all this moisture that is coming up from the lower Mississippi Valley, riding up through western PA, western New York, and the St. Lawrence Valley. It's hard to believe we're not going to see any of that. But at least the drier areas in western New York and up northern New York and northern New England will pick up some rain and make a little more of a dent in this in their drought situation.
You try to explain this to the average person who doesn't know much about weather. Yeah, we're going to have a spell of dry weather, mostly dry weather for the next 5 or 6 days, all due to the hurricane. And like, what? What did he say?
I know.
But truly, that's the thing that's holding everything up is Epsilon, and that's causing all of the moisture to funnel up and along that frontal zone that's off to the north and west of us.
Yeah, here's what it looks like on the U.S. satellite view from west to east. Uh, Moisture coming in from the Pacific, moving across the top through the plains, heading into the western lakes. You're getting a little bit of moisture getting funneled up from the middle Mississippi Valley and moving northeastward. The coastal plain in the northeast down to the mid-Atlantic states is pretty quiet. Got a lot of clouds over the state of Florida, and there's some rain going on down there. We'll take a look at the radar, and we'll give this a freshening up here and take a look. So yeah, Joe, you got some showers. Actually, some showers now into parts of northeast PA, and I'm going to say the western slopes of the Catskills on northward toward the I-90 87 Route 87 intersect in upstate New York.
Probably
That's
Sullivan County.
Yeah, that's the first wave going by. I would think that again, most of this is going to either go by to our north, or what you see back in central PA is likely to fall apart. And then you're starting to see some showers and even a couple of thunderstorms, looks like, in there on the radar in parts of western Kentucky. There's another wave that's going to be setting up for tomorrow that comes right behind us. And again, this is just going to be nothing for us. Uh, the mid Atlantic states, Virginia down to Georgia, back over to Louisiana, and is quiet. A little bit of thunderstorm activity in parts of southwest Arkansas and northeastern Texas. And you've got some clusters of thunderstorms in the state of Florida coming in from the east and moving to the west. As the satellite shows that there's a bit of moisture down there, some sort of trough that's flared up, and well, there's nothing tropical that's going to come out of that. My loops are running slow, so I'm just being a little cautious. I don't want. Hopefully, we don't get another internet freeze up.
Reaver 501 on the chat board asking me the question. Well, I worked for that private forecasting firm, which I will not mention the name of. But when I worked for that private firm, did I ever forecast for the upper Midwest? I did forecast for a little town called Rensselaer, Indiana, WRIN in Jasper County in northern Indiana. And the furthest west that I ever forecasted for was Pierre, South Dakota, Joe. Can you imagine
Yes.
doing the forecast for Pierre, South Dakota in New York, in the New York metropolitan, from the New York metropolitan area? And of course, I'll never forget the very first time I ever did a forecast for them. I said Pierre, and the guy like stopped the tape and said, I'm sorry, we don't call it that. You Easterners call it that. We call it just Pierre. It's
Yeah.
not Pierre, it's Pierre.
Yeah, I think all of us have had that has happened to them once or twice with various towns that you're not able to pronounce. That's why I usually apologize right off the bat. I'm
Yeah, then
sorry, I'm going to get this wrong. Just, tell me the right way.
in Philadelphia, they have it looks like the Schuylkill Expressway. It's not the Schuylkill Expressway, it's the
The Schuylkill.
Schuylkill Expressway.
Well, we have Spuyten Duyvil.
That's true. We do have Spuyten. It looks like Spuyten Duval.
Yes, it's Spuyten Duyvil.
And by the way, just outside of the town of Wilmington, they have the city of Newark. Of
Right,
course, up here
Newark. Yes, it's Newark, Delaware.
we call it Newark, Delaware, and meanwhile up here
It's Newark.
it's Newark, New Jersey.
Well,
Yeah,
and here on Long Island, we have all the Ogs.
right.
There's Happigue, which is Hop Hog.
Yes,
Then there's Aquabog. There's all
and don't forget Pachagui.
and Pachagui. Right, exactly. So yeah, every place has its unusual collection or Massapequa. Thankfully, you look at Massapequa. If you look at it long enough, you say it the way it's spelled. So that at least makes a little bit of sense. But yeah, some of the others are you got to make sure you ask the locals before you go on. All
And
right.
my wife also on the chat board saying I work for the same company, and she did a station WGLC in Mendota, Illinois, right outside of Chicago. I'm not sure if that. No, it's not. I was gonna say there was a the two of us at one time were working for this company, Joe, and one of the stations, I think it was in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. This is when we were dating. In fact, we were not quite this close. We were this close to, my proposing and saying, you want to spend the rest of your life with me. And this one station, this one guy calls me up and says, "Hey Joe, could you tell me something?" I said, "What?" He says, "Does Renata look as good as she sounds?" I said, "Yeah, I think she does." He says, "You think she'd be upset if I asked her out for a date?"
No, but I will. Ha! Nice.
He said, "I think she's got a boyfriend." Oh, okay.
All right. So, all right. Let's head back to weather map land. Stalled front out to the west. Stalled frontal boundary out to the to the east. You can see it here from WPC on the 21Z map, and not really much is going to move. This is where you kind of need a bit of a powerhouse, Joe, to clean house. It just isn't going to happen. And rainfall over the next 7 days. Now, this takes us to Monday evening. So WPC from coastal Maine down into northern North Carolina, Joe, a hundredth to a tenth of an inch for where we lie
Right.
and where others lie. But again, upstate New York, western PA, Ohio, back through Illinois, Indiana, Missouri, every bit of an inch to maybe a couple of inches there. South Florida doing okay, I guess, because of this upper trough going by, so it's a bit on the wet side. And then you have liquid, but a lot of this is going to be snow, over an inch and a half of liquid across the Dakotas, back into parts of Montana and Wyoming. They're showing some pretty strong liquid amounts up that way, Joe. So I'm thinking that some of the mountains there might do well with respect to snowfall.
That map that you from WPC, that is actually about as wet a map. I know, admittedly, we're not seeing very much here, a tenth of an inch maybe over the next 7 days, but still you look at the whole map, that's about as wet as we've seen it. I mean,
Yeah.
we've been so accustomed to the dichotomy of the east getting all the rain and the west getting nothing, but it looks like this map, even parts of California, Nevada, Arizona, Oregon, they got to get some precipitation as well.
Yeah, particularly in Colorado, where I think it's pretty important over the next 7 days. Is one of our regulars, Ruthless Goat. He's up in Colorado near Loveland. They've got this horrible wildfire going on in that part of Colorado up to Boulder, and the rain or any kind of precip. I mean, even or snow. But this is definitely, if those liquid amounts can verify to get anywhere from 3/4 of an inch to an inch and a half of melted liquid, it will do something with regards to some of the wildfires. Also seeing some precipitation being indicated for California in the southwest, which is a positive, and in the Pacific Northwest, seeing precipitation being indicated there. So uh, as far as the weather going on for this week, I'll bring up the surface map. I got my fingers crossed. I've been getting like little messages that the internet is unstable, but it seems to have calmed down. So let's keep our fingers crossed that it lasts through the end of this program tonight, uh, except for that little blip at the beginning of the show. But rolling on through the GFS as the Circle of Death completes its map load, you can see the wave that goes by to the north in upstate New York and northern New England on Tuesday. That's wave number 2 because you got one going through now. The southern end of that just falls apart. There's your snow, by the way, across South Dakota into Minnesota and eventually into Wisconsin before that lifts up to the Great Lakes. And then it looks like there's another system for later this week. I think the reason, Joe, they don't have the winter weather advisories is this first low for Tuesday kind of misses the Dakotas and gets Minnesota. It's the second low that comes down along about Thursday and drops down into northern Colorado, that 97 low. That sprays snow from central Montana back also over Minnesota. So we're looking at that snowfall forecast map that I showed was showing snow amounts through I think through Thursday evening. So that includes it's two systems at work. So they don't have it up for the first one. They're going to have it up for the second one. They might even actually go to winter storm warnings with that, assuming that the upper air, kind of holds together with this. But again, if you look in the east, you can kind of see Epsilon there on the far right. Just barely gets on the screen before it turns and moves away. And then once it does, we get a little weak cold front that comes through here on Sunday. Now, Joe, the GFS is showing a few showers here on Sunday. I didn't get a chance to look at the European today. I don't know if you did. But for now, I'm leaving stuff out of the forecast for the weekend. Even though we may go to an onshore flow on Sunday, I didn't want to put it in yet.
I did not get a chance. I'm going to check right now and see what the story is on the European. So if you want to hold on for another 15 seconds or so.
Sure, you do that. I'll switch to the upper air in the meantime.
And we'll see what we shall see. And you want to know about this coming Sunday?
For Sunday, because
I thought Sunday would look to be a fairly nice day.
Yeah, I left it out. The GFS has suddenly brings this front through Saturday night, kind of stalls it to our south. There's a little onshore flow that develops with the high to the north and showed a little bit of light precip, but I just didn't. I left it out. I decided that with everything wanting to be further north and west anyway, I thought we'd still be too much into a ridge position here along the East Coast come Sunday. I mean, it's kind of flattened out, but there's still a little bit of a ridge there.
There's no the GFS. The European does not have any precipitation in our area on Sunday.
I didn't think it did.
And in fact, what they're doing is they have a cold front. The cold front I mentioned that passes through here on Saturday, but as time wears on, that front, the moisture with that front just completely dries out or dries up. So the front comes through dry during Saturday. We go into a cooler airflow, but Sunday too remains dry. The next chance of significant precipitation, according to the European now, does not come our way until even next. Well, I tell you, they have some precip trying to get in here for next Monday night, but even that kind of shrivels up and dries out a bit. So,
Well, if you look at
uh,
the 18Z GFS, it actually does kind of the same idea because
yeah,
you look at the upper air. There's a ridge here along the east coast. There's a 588 upper high sitting over Jacksonville, Florida. The trough drops down well to our west, uh, down west of 90 when it gets north south, and that's on Wednesday. Um, we're still the ridge is finally starting to move out. But yeah, it might, even though the GFS wants to bring rain close here early next week, I'm thinking it may have to wait till later next week when this upper trough finally swings through here. And then we're into Halloween and the first weekend of November when we can finally roll those darn clocks back an hour, thankfully. And
that's
going
right.
going into the November, if the upper air pattern is what I'm looking at here, it really doesn't look all that exciting. It's ridges on both coasts, a little trough in the middle to start the month, and then kind of a flattish west northwest flow again, which doesn't really bode anything exciting with regards to uh, developing lows and early season snowstorms or that kind of thing. So I guess we should be thankful that we're not seeing anything exciting.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. In fact, yeah, if you really, it looks like if you really want significant precipitation around here, you may have to wait until Wednesday or a week from Wednesday or Thursday of next week to get it.
Yep.
Until then, it's just going to be dribbly drab, a spritz here, a sprinkle there, a little bit of drizzle. But I mean, some really meaningful rainfall may still be more than a week away from now.
Yep. All right, we're back full screen. I will take this opportunity again. We're not done yet, by the way, because we have Briller Jeopardy tonight, and I think Joe, you have the questions for me tonight, as from what I've been told.
Well, let's see, because I'm looking here to see. See now, this is well, I don't know how I don't know how Scott sends these things. He certainly is not sending it to me via messenger. So I see nothing from Scott so far as messenger is
Well, what
concerned.
about on your weather page on the messages on your weather page?
Well, now I see what I have to do now because now I have the new page, and so now I have to actually physically go and switch profile.
No, you don't. It's on the side. It's on the right. If you go where it says
No, this
inbox.
is it's very interesting, Joe. I have two Facebook pages, and my professional page only shows messages that go to me or things that happen to me on my professional page. In order for somebody to send me something, see,
Okay, all right, no
I gotta
worries.
wait a minute, hold on. Switch profile, which I'm doing.
All right, you
Okay.
do that. I'm going to do a public service announcement to our friend John Trabacchino. I mentioned this yesterday. He is a regular on this board, and he is having medical difficulties. He's dealing with a malignant glioblastoma brain tumor. That's and he's having a tough time. So for those of you who would like, there is a GoFundMe page. I've just put the link up on the chat. So if you can see to it to generously donate, the link is up there for you to use. So thank you very much for considering that. And John, we wish you all the best and hope you get well very soon. Okay, so did you find those questions?
No.
Too bad, because I've heard this because he told me they were all about Vermont.
Uh Scott, if you're listening to me, you got to send it to me via messenger. Um, I don't know how people send me messages. I can't even find where I'm just fooling around sometimes, and all of a sudden a whole slew of messages pop up, and I say, how did I get this? How did I get these messages? They're not. It's not messenger. These are messages, but I don't know
I
how to access them.
I don't know. You're still using AOL, so I have no idea.
No, this is well. I mean, but this is both using Chrome and this is also using something else called. I don't even have Internet Explorer anymore since I got the new computer. Now I have something called Microsoft Edge,
Oh,
which is
Internet Explorer has been gone for a long time.
well. for you.
Oh, jeez. Oh, I
Should I call on you? I'm going to call you up on my rotary phone.
I understand. Well, never mind. I was going to make a joke about some people I know that are still on a Commodore 380, a 386 from a million years ago. But that'll date me in a big way. Date both of us in a big way. Uh, we'll give it another few seconds. No sign of. I know Scott's roving on the board here somewhere, so I don't know if he's trying to send you the message or not. But I'll tell you what. We'll just leave it for. Why don't we leave it for Wednesday? Because tomorrow, you're out. So
I'm out and
you're
you're
out,
out.
and I'm out tomorrow. But I might, if depending time allows, if I get back early enough, I might do a solo show late tomorrow, like at 9 o'clock or 9:30. No promises, folks. Otherwise, but there's not much weather going on anyway. Otherwise, Joe and I will be back on Wednesday. And
Oh, thanks a
again,
lot. Thanks a lot, Renata. On the chat board, she says, see what I have to deal with on a daily basis.
oh Jesus, maybe you. I'm not going to say. Never mind. I wanted to go back to that conversation that you had with the guy from the radio station, but with never mind. It'll get me in trouble. Uh, so anyway, for those of you who are on my weather platform on Patreon, 9 o'clock for the Zoom that we're going to do for Patreon members. I'm going to post the links on the platform right after we say goodbye, which we're going to do right now. So have a great night. Thanks everybody for being here. We had a nice crowd tonight, Joe. We had almost over 150 people on tonight, which was really good.
It's pretty good. Yeah. Yeah.
So have a great day. We'll see you. Joe and I will be both back together on Wednesday. I might sneak in tomorrow night, but we'll both be back together on Wednesday. Good night, everybody.